Happy 2025, everybody. Welcome back. It's a new year. It's the same show. It's myself, Kyle, along with Neil, with a new Mike who actually has the exact same mic I do.
It's literally the exact same mic, and that wasn't even by. I think when I asked my girlfriend for like a microphone, I guess this is the first thing that she saw. So
Amazon.
ironically, it was like,
Yeah.
so yeah, so it's good.
It was it's a good Amazon pickup.
Yeah, I used
Yeah.
it for my last Devil State of Mind podcast, so that was good.
Well, you sound good.
Yeah, thank you, and yeah, I'm having fun with the clips, doing clips. I'm really actually enjoying myself with
It's
doing.
like it's funny because when I was approached by it this weekend with other people, and they were wondering like,
Right.
hey, I've seen some of your clips. Like, where are you
Yeah,
doing it? And I'm like, oh, doing it on YouTube Shorts. And
YouTube.
it's like, for anybody out there, like, it's so, like I've told you before too, like it's so simple to do where you can literally sit on your couch, whatever, after dinner, you throw on the TV, and it takes 5 minutes to do.
Yeah. The only thing that like stinks about it is that you have to wait, I think, what?
Like 24 hours or
You have to
something.
wait like
It's
24
okay.
hours after you post the episode. So like
Yeah.
for instance, this will be posted give or take 3, maybe 2:30.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. So Kyle won't be able to clip anything from this episode until tomorrow at the same time. So
Well, it's okay because there's not a game till tomorrow night. So if we have anything, we can
right.
still get it
Yeah,
out, right?
that's true.
Yeah. So I mean, it's still nice though. It sucks that you have like that YouTube Shorts thing in the corner, but beggars
I
can't
don't
be
care.
choosers.
On it,
It is
me
what it is.
personally, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't bug me. But yeah, no, I mean it's easy, and like then you can just distribute it to like Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you feel like.
Exactly.
It's good. It's good
Yeah.
stuff.
Cool. Yeah. Other than that, just getting over a fun little sick weekend, which was great. Had a nice relaxing weekend. Other than that, watched some football, watched a bit of hockey. Speaking of which, I was about to say World Junior stuff, but we'll leave that till the end.
Hmm.
Bit of news on Mr. JT Miller, I believe. Is there not?
Yeah, I mean, there's it's not really news. It's more of just like the latest rumors, the latest things we're hearing about JT Miller and also Elias Pettersson as well. So this comes from the Hockey News. Lyle Richardson wrote this, and it starts at despite Vancouver Canucks players Elias Pettersson and JT Miller denying any issues between them, media speculation and trade rumors continue to build. So Elliot Friedman, as it's mentioned here, he pointed out that Lane McIntyre's year-end interview with the Canucks GM Patrick Allvin, where he didn't dismiss the possibility of trading Elias Pettersson. So here's what we know. I'll give everybody like in case you don't know. Essentially, the Canucks are in somewhat of a little bit of a free fall. Obviously, with the injuries as well as not helping. With Elias Pettersson, I think by now he should be back in the lineup.
He's
Because
still out. He's
he's
still
still
out.
out, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because I remember from our episode last week, I said that he was about a week away from being back, so I guess he's still out. And then obviously Quinn Hughes is on IR.
And with Pettersson, real quick, I checked fantasy this morning, and under the news, he said he'd be back midweek this week.
Yeah, so but there's even a possibility that maybe even by the time you guys are checking this episode, that he's back in the lineup. But we'll see. Regardless, really what has transpired is the discontent between both Elias Pettersson and JT Miller. Specifically around the fact that there has been belief that JT Miller has called Elias Pettersson a quote soft European. Something to that regard. Uh so that, and I think Kyle, if I'm not mistaken, I think you asked Dylan Kaiser about this, and he said that this is legitimate, like this is
Yeah.
real discontent.
Now,
And
okay, he's not an inside source,
all
but
right, he's not an
based on
inside
the
source, but
fact
like
that,
he believes, and Dylan, obviously being a Canucks fan, believes wholeheartedly that this is real. Like this is not
yeah,
just some speculation. And there's a lot of
you'll never
reportings out.
know. But
Yeah,
also
go
too,
ahead.
like you'll just say you'll never know inside the locker room. It'll
No,
never come out, right?
you won't.
But we know that there's stuff going on because Quinn Hughes weeks ago pretty much confirmed it.
Right, he did. And I give Quinn Hughes a lot of credit that he was just blatantly honest and was like, yeah, it's happening. And I think
Like,
I think part of the reason why he did that was because it was obvious, number one, and I think number two, I don't think he wanted more speculation to come out, more reporting coming out. I think he just wanted to kind of nip it in the bud and say, like, look, we're dealing with it.
yeah,
And I think what ends up happening is one of, if not both of those players are going to eventually be shipped out. I don't know if that will be at the deadline. I think it's unlikely, but I think
no, yeah,
summer, I think you will see both of them or at least one of them moved. And I think JT Miller is going to be the one that ends up getting moved more likely than Elias Pettersson.
it depends if this free fall kind of not even necessarily free fall because if I'm not mistaken, they're still in a playoff spot, right?
Yeah, and
Um,
that's why I said like a little bit. I said a little bit of a free fall because obviously with some of the injuries that they're dealing with, and the fact that also they've been kind of up and down with their play. I mean, I
right.
look back to that collapse last week against the Kraken, where they were up 3 goals in the third period and ended up losing. That to me is like there's 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 not enough cohesiveness going on in the locker room.
Yeah. Well, you're starting to see. I mean, I could bring it up, but I'll do it later. You're starting to see separation, and I wholeheartedly believe. I think there's probably 4 teams fighting for one wild card spot
Yeah,
at the end of the day.
I agree.
We'll kind of get into that maybe a bit later because everything else is starting again, like with the Central the way it is, the Pacific the way it is now. It doesn't seem like anybody's really starting to slow down. Thanks, LA. It doesn't. It just feels like you just have that one, that one wild card spot out in the open, and even if you get in, you're gonna have to go up against a good Golden Knights team, or it might be Winnipeg or whoever, and it's not gonna be easy. So it feels like the way that I see it is I think there's 7 legitimate teams in there that in the West that have a chance, right? I think whoever sneaks into this last wildcard spot probably doesn't have it. But just going back to Miller and Pettersson, like real quick, I'm shocked that they let this get that bad. Like, can you imagine, like, you hate each other so not even hate maybe, but it's like you don't like each other so much and you can't play with each other, that you can't like somehow make this work. Like there's got to be something deeper here, right? In the
Mhm.
like I think people have to understand that like from the reports, right? Whether this is all true or not, I don't know. But the way that it sounds is that like these guys are just at each other's heads, right?
Yeah,
Like
they legitimately hate each other, I think.
that's the crazy part, right? So again, we don't know if it's true or not. We're just speculating at this point, but it just feels like with all these talks going on and on and on and on, it's like,
Mhm.
what do you do? Because it's
Right.
unfortunate because the Canucks were in a position last year where they broke out. They were the number
Yeah,
one team in the West last year, I think.
and Kyle was the only one that said that they were fraudulent from early on in the season till the end.
Am I wrong though?
No, you're not. You're not.
I was kind of right at the end of the day, if you think about it.
I
You
mean,
know,
they got pretty far though
right. You
in the
got 7 games
playoffs.
with the Oilers and she lost, and they finally got bounced. I knew that they weren't going far. Okay, whatever. They won one round. You beat
I'm
me there.
I'm
Congratulations, right?
okay.
But I'm just saying, right?
Yeah,
Like I remember the
yeah,
heat that I took after like they beat the Predators, but it's like
mhm,
I was right at the end of the day. I don't care, right? And even
right,
this year, like I think like you kind of accepted the fact that okay, they were going to be good, and then all of a sudden it's like, what the hell is going on here, right?
yeah,
Like you can't convince me this team gets in and they beat Vegas, right?
no,
I don't know. I just don't see it. Like you have to.
right,
I'd be curious to see who's going to step up here now in this wild card race for the one spot, right? And that's where we talk about the Calgary Flames because they've kind of pigeon tossed it a little bit these last 2 games, and I feel like this is a good point to kind of get started with these rascals here. Um, so
rascals.
the Rascals didn't go entirely well on Saturday as the Predators came to town and they were winners as O'Reilly got the hat trick and the Preds won it 4-1. The biggest thing, I have to find the scoreboard, but I will afterwards, whatever. Biggest thing to come away from this game was the fact that Andre Kuzmenko pretty much put the Flames in the toilet here. Wolf didn't play all that bad. Just kind of looking at the game afterwards, I thought Wolf was fine. Now that I'm speaking of it, I should probably get the scoreboard up. But Wolf wasn't that bad. I don't even think Kuzmenko was awful because he did have some good shot attempts in the game. The problem was the penalty kill has been atrocious for the Flames this year, at least for the last couple of games. I wrote the stat down here. At least I think it was the last 19 penalty kills. It's been they're 9 for 16, on the penalty kill. It's a cringeworthy 56.25%. Not good recently, considering how well they have been this season on the penalty kill, and to give that up to a team like the Nashville Predators, not the greatest thing in the world. The biggest moment of the game, though, came from Andrei Kuzmenko, who decided that using a broken stick is fine, and that hey, buddy, you can't use a broken stick. You're going to the penalty box, and all of a sudden O'Reilly puts it away. It feels like, even for this game, though, like it was a competitive game. It's not like this was a blowout because they ended up getting an empty netter. Kuzmenko just kind of cost this team there in the third period, right? Where Backlund gets them back within it. You're down 1, you're going into the break, you're feeling good, all right? Like we're a good third period team. We can kind of crawl and scratch our way back into this. And all of a sudden it was a silly penalty that Kuzmenko took. In the second period that made it happen. So to backtrack there, like it's a 1-1 hockey game if you don't pull some stupid stuff like that, right? And that's what changes the dynamic here. Didn't help that the Flames were 0 for 3 on the power play. Predators, they got both power plays. They were 2 for 2. That's essentially all that they needed. And the biggest stat of them all, I think, here is the Predators just blocked shots left, right, and center. They had 30 to the Flames 6. All Nashville essentially on Saturday. Flames tried to keep it competitive, but man, I feel bad for Kuzmenko, Neil, but you have to know the rule.
Yeah, I mean, look, we talked about our concerns with Kuzmenko last week, and I mean, nothing has really changed that much since then. And obviously, doing that, I mean, you just can't try to get away with playing with a broken stick. Like, either you didn't know the rule somehow, or you just were hoping that maybe you would get away with it. Maybe the ref didn't see it, doesn't see it, who knows? But to me, it was fairly obvious, and to the ref, it was fairly obvious. And yeah, I mean, that really killed a lot of momentum. I think the one stat that stands out to me, Kyle, is in the first period, shots were 11-4 in favor of the Flames. 2 of the 4 shots that the Predators took on net ended up in the back of the net. So not ideal. It was one of those things where I felt defensively the Flames were good, but it was one of those times where I don't want to put a lot of blame on Dustin Wolf, but it was kind of like you should be able to get out of that period not giving up, not giving up half of the shots as goals. So not great. But again, you mentioned the special teams. Power play is just I mean at this point it's just ridiculous how inconsistent and how ineffective that power play is. And the penalty kill, yeah, I mean you have to give the Predators credit. When they had opportunities, they took advantage of it. And that was the entire story of this game. So, yeah, I mean, not a good effort at all from Calgary. You know that it could be a lot better than what you put out there on Saturday.
And I wanted to bring this up. This was on the Calgary Herald, so the newspaper site here, okay?
So it's legit.
It's legit. So Kuzmenko seemed genuinely shocked when he was called during the second period for playing with a broken stick. Asked later if he was aware of the rule or if he just learned the rule on Saturday. He replied with one word: learn. So he didn't know the rule, right?
So he didn't know.
And then Ryan Huska, after the game, he's played in the NHL for a few years now. I'm sure he knows the rule. No. Ryan, he didn't know the rule, right? The one thing I would say was a positive for him is that he had a lot of shot attempts. So again, that was Huska after the game. Fair. I mean,
right.
Fair. We've been asking for more shot attempts, but at some point we need some sort of results here, right? And this is coming from a team where you're just trying to find it from anywhere. And I think that's just been the struggle. And we kind of knew that going into the season, right?
Sure.
But it's just funny how it's like it falls on Kuzmenko, right? Because Huska's sitting there going like, these guys need to know the rule, right? That's his assumption.
Mm-hmm.
For Kuzmenko to come out there afterwards being like, I didn't know the rule. How long has this been rule in place for?
Yeah.
How many years now? Too many?
Long time.
Right? Long time. Right? Like, Andre, you're telling me that this is the first time you've had a broken stick in what? Your whole career? Right?
That's essentially what he was trying to tell us.
So I don't buy it, right? I get that you don't know the rule, but I don't buy the fact that like you haven't done this before, right?
Yeah.
Come on. Anyway, I think
he didn't deny. I mean, he basically didn't deny that he didn't know the rule. He just said learn.
Sure.
So like for
however
him,
you want to look at it.
Right. It for me, I look at it more like, okay, he basically is admitting that he didn't know.
Yeah.
And I think he just didn't want to say that he didn't know. I think he was just like, I'm learning from it, and that's what it is. So
it's unfortunate, but
bad look though.
It's a really bad look on what's been a really bad year for Kuzmenko, and all hope that we had of finding value for him at the deadline, we talked about on the last show, is essentially gone. And again, it's just, it makes this deadline very interesting on what this team's going to do, because, you know, look at the schedule. We just talked about before the break, their schedule coming up. You got the Ducks, who are actually coming up a little bit in the standings, by the way. And then you got your back-to-back against the Kings, which could mean these are big games coming up for the Flames, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, a good chance to try to turn it around. Not the performance that you wanted to see on Saturday, especially at home. You know, and then again, like even Utah, like I remember looking back on that Utah game, like you're up going to the third period, you give away 2 goals within a minute, right? And this was after Dustin Wolf had a good performance and the Flames won. And Vladar gets the start. So the whole thing that Huska said at the beginning of the year where, oh, if you win, you'll get rewarded. Well, that's just not the case anymore, right?
No.
So at some point, like, I still believe, and I don't know about you, Neil, I still believe Dustin Wolf gives you the best chance to win every single night, right? And I hate it when people go, like, and maybe you experience this too on your end with the Devils, but I hate when I see comments online, right? And let's say Wolf has played, and he's done it before already. He's played 2-3 games in a row, right? And then Vladar goes in net, right? And then it's for people like, oh man, why is he? Wolf's been playing so good. Like, why is he in net? I'm sorry. Are you with the team? Like, do you know what's happening? Maybe Wolf goes up to him, or maybe they make the decision and decide, you know what? Like, he's kind of lingering a little bit today. Let's give Vladar the start, right? I'm sure you've seen it before too.
Yeah, no, I've seen it plenty of times. You know, not just with covering the Devils, but just in general.
Right.
I think it's the thing that I don't like about Huska's like basically backtracking on his comment is just like the fact that you have this young goaltender who clearly has had a multitude of different really good performances throughout the year. He's been talked about in the NHL main world for a good period. I mean, even people are considering him not the winner or not the favorite to win the Calder Trophy, but to be a finalist, to be a top candidate. And I don't think it's been fair to either Dustin Wolf nor Dan Vladard in terms of that consistency. I think that they're both in kind of like a weird situation where, yeah, you want to be ready for every game, but at the same time, there's no flow to get into because you don't really know who it is. And then on top of that, you have to think about it from the players in front of their netminder. If they don't know or feel comfortable with who they're rocking with most nights, right? And there's uncertainty, you're going to see the level of play not be at 100%. So, an example that I can give you is before the holiday break, when you looked at it from the Devils standpoint, and I think it might have been Paul Cotter that mentioned it, saying basically like, look, we don't really care who's in net. We feel comfortable with either guy. We just want to play to a certain level every single night. And The difference is, though, is that it's very obvious that Jacob Markstrom is the number one guy for the Devils. There's no debating that. And that
Yeah.
was not even a debate at the beginning of the season. I
When
think
you
more
have
of the
fired him.
question, right. And I think the question more was how often were we going to see Jake Allen? And I think you're seeing Jake Allen in New Jersey about as much as you would expect to see him play. But you can clearly see that there's a difference of late in how they play. Like it just seems like the Devils' offense gets a little bit more going.
Sure.
Things seem to be a little bit better when Markstrom's in net because they know his capabilities. Whereas with Jake Allen, they're kind of almost trying to get him to that same level, and Jake Allen, talent-wise, is not at that same level. My point being with all of this is you need to send a message to your team about who is your guy. And I used that example last week about with if you're an NFL team and you're going back and forth between two quarterbacks, the team can never get any sort of continuity because you don't know who your main guy is moving forward. So I think even at this point in the year, where yes, we're still uncertain as to where this Flames team is going to end up by the time we hit mid-April, you still need to define your guy, not just for this season, but moving forward. So that's the way that I look at it.
You hit the nail on the head. I think what I'm so curious about is how the last 20, 30 games are played and who has the majority of the starts. Because my guess is that both goalies are going to be on this team. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Unless there's a terrible injury and all of a sudden Vladar is needed somewhere else, right? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens, right? But let's just say
I would say the only team that, and again, this is not, I'm
like
not
what, Carolina, unless they can't get
but
healthy
that's
again.
no, but here's the thing about Carolina. You already have, I would argue that the goaltending level that you're getting in Carolina is fairly similar to what you're getting from Dan Vladar.
Right.
So if Vladar were to go to Carolina, is it really that much of an upgrade from what you already have? Maybe you could say that he's a better backup than Dustin Tokarski, who has not been anywhere decent. I mean, granted, he won last night, but that was because the Hurricanes backed him up and scored several times in the third period.
Yeah.
But they almost lost that game at home to Pittsburgh.
Right.
So I have a very tough time seeing Vladar, not because I don't think he has any sort of ability. I think it's just that it's not like last year where you had a multitude of teams, especially contending teams, that were looking around for goaltending. The other thing to keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, goaltending trades don't really happen during the season. They just don't.
Unless you're desperate, right?
Unless you're desperate, which if you look at what Colorado did, they were very desperate. And I will say, investing that much in Mackenzie Blackwood, contract-wise,
that's a risk.
You got to be desperate.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest.
It's true. So, that's a desperation signing, right?
That was, yeah. I don't think you didn't have to do that right now. You could just wait it out. But yeah, we'll see. But I would agree with you that I think the tandem of Wolf and Vladar will remain the tandem the rest of the year. And honestly, I have no issue with it. I just want to see a bit more consistency with who plays and who doesn't.
That's the crazy part is we're so frustrated because we want to see more Wolf, but it's not a bad thing to have these two guys in your system, right?
No.
It isn't. And especially in Wolf's first full year, it's kind of nice that you kind of have a guy like Vladar there where it's that we all know that the future is with him, with Wolf, right? But to have a viable backup goaltender, which he is, right, is nice to have at least his way to kind of get into the season a little bit. And frankly, Wolf's been fine. He's been great this year, right? Yeah. So I think it'll be interesting to see maybe the last 30, 20 games, how many starts is he really going to get, right? Because, they're still in it for a playoff spot, if you want to put it that way. You're 1 point back, right? You're not out of it for any stretch of the imagination. And maybe we'll get into it more with these games coming up, but they're still important games to play, right? And now it's a matter of who's going to get more of these important starts.
Yeah.
That's just the way to see it. So, We'll leave it there, and we'll do some ad reads. We'll come back. We'll preview the next 2 games up ahead. We got a game Tuesday in Anaheim, and then we got one in LA on Wednesday. And then we'll wrap up with some World Junior stuff, if that sounds good. Let's do it.
Great.
Playoffs. We're talking playoffs. You bet we are. Get in on the action. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL and the NHL. Scoring touchdowns is key to winning in the playoffs, and you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings, the number one place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score 6. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and make your pick. For, I don't know, since we're talking football, you like the Vikings this weekend. -2.5. It's a nice bet.
Or if you like the Chargers at -2.5.
That's a nice one too.
Chargers are favored.
And they are.
On the road, mind you.
New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. Let's go THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. It's only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. And also sponsored by Game Time. It's that time of year again. Hopefully you all had a great holidays, and hopefully you got some loved ones some fantastic tickets to any upcoming events, whether it be hockey, whether it be some concerts, maybe it's a nice theater, musical you got going on, whatever it may be, you can all get it at Game Time. Game Time is a new feature called Game Time Picks, which allows you to filter out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Game Time Picks allows you to make it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Its all-in pricing feature allows you to show the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout, and you get a panoramic view of your seats in the app before you buy. You have the lowest price guarantee. Your Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference, and you get the Game Time ticket coverage, which allows you to have the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app now, create an account, and use code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code THPN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
It's game time.
Couldn't do the little flick of the fingers there. Yeah, that was a little faint from what.
Yeah, I slipped on that one. Let's try it again. Hold on. I actually now want to. That better?
You go.
Maybe I'll do my left hand next time. Yeah, that's better.
So yeah, we got 2 games coming up. Nothing really in terms of lineups today. This is their kind of travel day to get over to Anaheim, so they're obviously not on the ice.
I think it's the mom's trip, by the way.
And it is the mom's trip, a quick little trip because they will be in Anaheim, in LA, and then they'll be back home, I believe, on Saturday as they do the back-to-back with the LA Kings. So out in the standings, the Ducks are actually like 4 points behind the Calgary Flames right now, who have started to come up recently. Mind you, they have to leapfrog a couple of teams, but they're there nonetheless.
And it's the second of a back-to-back because the Ducks did play last night.
Second of a back-to-back. The Flames will be on a back-to-back as well. They'll play in Anaheim, and then they'll be playing in LA on Wednesday. And to get like some perspective here, right? If I'm just strictly looking at the LA games, like if you take out the Anaheim one, for example, right? If you can make up 4 points on the Kings, just hypothetically, it's 2 games.
No, I'm just saying the last time that we talked about if we could get
they probably lost
this amount of points, it didn't. None of it happened. So be careful with what you're asking for.
If all goes according to plan and they win both games in regulation, right? Mm-hmm. You all of a sudden are sitting 3 points behind LA. And who knows? We haven't even seen the Ducks yet. It's a big week for the Flames. You scrap out whatever happened last week. Fresh start. You're on the road. You're in a building that's never been kind to you. But luckily enough, for the last couple of years, it's been a soft Ducks team who now has Jacob Trouba. Not so soft. How important is it for this team at this point in the year with this 3 games coming up between the Ducks and the back-to-back with the Kings?
I think it's extremely important because we're just at about the halfway point of the season in terms of games played for the Flames. And we're at the stage now where you're really just trying to rack up points. I know that, obviously you want to win every game. I get it. But even if you can't, just getting a point in some degree is a win in itself. because it's going to matter later on in the year when you're in the last 2 to 3 weeks of the year and you only need a couple of points here or there to get it done. And then you look back to games like here where we say, oh, it's, what's so special about a game on January 7th in Anaheim? It might end up being the biggest difference between making the playoffs and not.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm saying. So when you're facing up against the Ducks team, which is, to be fair, a lot better than I think people give them credit for.
Yeah.
Also, they've been better since Trevor Zegras was out. Not saying that there's a correlation to that.
Could be.
Just point it out. Also, Frank Vetrano just signed a 3-year contract extension yesterday.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. Congratulations to Vetrano. Very nice.
I think Dostal will end up being the starter. I think because John Gibson, I believe, started last night for the Ducks. Yeah, you got to find a way to get points here. I don't think that, I don't think there's any debate about that. I would like to see, out of these 3 games this week, I'm hoping for 4 points.
Right.
4. Because it's too ambitious to ask and hope that the Flames sweep these 3 games. I mean, shoot, that would be awesome, right? That would be fantastic they do that. It's unlikely. It's unlikely.
Well, we've seen stranger things already. They're 18-4-7 at this point in the year. Nobody thought that, right? Like,
no.
So that's what I mean. Like, we've seen stranger things happen, right? So, and also, like, in terms of thinking ahead, this is great for them in terms of their development.
Oh,
right.
100%.
Like, it's kind of nice to know that what areas, like, specifically, and I know you can say this with every team basically, but at least with these guys, like, in starting this new process, you're able to, like, fluctuate and figure out, okay, this is what we need. And from Craig Conroy, like, he's shown that, okay, you need, like, a young centerman who can specifically not only win faceoffs, but he needs to, be scoring some goals, right? You need goal scorers on the team. Okay, great. That's number 1, right? Got to work on that power play a little bit. Okay, let's see if we can add to that, right? So, like, they still have, in my eyes, it's a good defense, and I like the prospects that they have still coming up, right? This is all long talk, but still, like, it's just nice to know that at this point in the year, like, you're getting results because, these guys are fairly meshing well together. And frankly, you're getting good results so far from guys like Zari, from guys like Coronado. And it's just going to take a little bit of shuffling around here before we can start seeing some actual, maybe better results. Who knows, right? But, like, overall at this point in the year, it's still, like, really good. Regardless if they miss the playoffs or not, like, it's still a resounding success. And for any Flames fans who are going to sit here afterwards and be like, oh, here we go, middle of the pack again, don't get me started on this draft pick bullshit from the whole Sean Monahan thing, because I guarantee you I'm going to be talking about it again before season's end.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and that's, to me, I think the big thing is just, it's cliche to say this, but it's truly one game at a time. I think that any game is an opportunity for this team to learn. I think being in a playoff race, I think, is good for them in the long-term run. They gain that experience. They understand what it's like to be in the thick of it. I think it's important. Should also mention really quickly, doesn't affect a ton, but the Kings put Arthur Kaliev on waivers yesterday. He was just claimed today by the New York Rangers. So Kaliev is now done in LA, and he goes cross-country to New York. I wouldn't say that was the best place for Kaliev to go in terms of getting a second opportunity, because obviously he's had a tough year with injuries, but just wanted to mention that really quickly. But nonetheless, I think that it's important. And I would also just say this really quick. Again, sounds very corny, but it is the mom's trip. It would be nice if the team plays well in front of the people that put them on this planet.
Exactly right. Like,
come
on.
I could have said that a lot nicer, but, like,
no, I get it.
Brought them into this world, like, honestly.
Well, I think they are going to try.
Well, they're going to try regardless. No, look,
like
you're going to try regardless, right?
Like,
yeah, you're going to try regardless of who's watching.
Yeah,
like it's a little bit different when it's like your mom.
Your mom.
Your mom. Like, don't disappoint your mom.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, and I think they will. I think they'll have a good time, and then, whatever.
We say that, and, like, by Thursday we're both, like, upset.
This bullshit. Like,
yeah, like, you know what? Screw the mom's trip. This is
exactly. Yeah, so that should be pretty good for now. Not much else to really report on between now and Thursday. We'll be able to at least give some good reports from, on Thursday with these two games back to back, Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm sure there's going to be a lot coming from it. Also, thank you for bringing up Kalia, because there was a lot of people in the Flames Twitterverse that were like, pick him up. And I'm like,
A lot of
guys,
people were like that. Yeah, a lot of people were like,
right. And I'm
"Pick 'em up."
like, how many more goddamn wingers do you need on this team?
Enough.
Like, it's enough,
Enough.
right? Like, no. Like, if he was
Mhm.
a centerman, great. Maybe we're talking a different story here, but no, like, stop it. We don't need any more wingers, okay?
Yeah.
We get it. All right, and then I think to wrap up today,
I was gonna really quickly, just one last thing with the Flames.
yeah,
Shout out prospect Arseny Sergeev, who had a really good performance for Penn State, goaltender. Should mention that should have been the first thing I said.
sure.
Goaltending prospect for the Flames had a really good game against Notre Dame in the frozen confines. I think they played
Thank you,
in the
yeah.
same. They played at Wrigley Field after the Winter Classic, right? They beat Notre Dame. No, actually, no. They did end up. Unfortunately, they lost to Notre Dame 4-3. But he stopped 43 shots.
Nice.
Granted, he gave up. You know, he gave up 4 goals, but still, like, pretty good. He's coming off an injury. He came off an injury. This was his first game in like 2 months, I think, or a long
Yeah,
period of time. Comes in and does that. Really good job, honestly. I was actually pretty impressed with what I saw, because I saw a lot of those outdoor games.
it's
Really
good.
liked what I saw. Also, Andrew Basha, who we have talked about numerous times on the podcast,
Oh, man.
9 goals, 20 assists, 29 points in 23 games for Medicine Hat. Um, and unfortunately, he is, at least I'm reading this right, he's been out with an injury, I think.
I think so, yeah. So he's out for a little bit, but that's okay. I mean, he's still playing very well at a high level.
So we
Two other
can't.
names. I mean, I mentioned it last time with Henry Muse. He leads all OHL in points in defense. And a name that I keep popping up here in the OHL is Jacob Battaglia. He's been playing really well for Kingston. And, it's these
20?
prospects are just playing so well right now, especially
Yeah.
for the Wranglers. Like, they're playing so well.
Yep.
And that's a really good sign to know that your young guys especially are playing really well, and that's giving you a lot of hope, because maybe next year we don't have to see Jake Bean and Miramanoff and whatever, right? Like, maybe you get some new blood into there, right? And
Right.
then hopefully some centermen we can maybe try and look at as well. But
Yep.
yeah, no, it's good that you brought that up. I don't think there's any other I think Sam Morton actually had a goal the other night for the Wranglers too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and I think another college hockey guy, Eider Suniev, forward
Suniev,
for
yeah.
UMass, 12 goals, 12 assists, 24 points in 19 games. That's not bad. That's pretty
Yep.
good, actually.
Yep.
And that's, again, like, honestly, like, I like what I've seen from a little bit of highlights that I've seen, more or less. Yeah, and I will say this. Um, there's a goalie prospect from Latvia. I'd really like it if the Flames drafted him.
Feldberg.
Yeah. Because the goaltending, like, prospect pool right now, we need help.
It's not awful, actually. The Russian guy, as he's been
True,
fine.
true, but we need more help.
Yeah, I mean,
Got
but
Logan
also
Cooley, though,
too,
playing well for the Wranglers.
and Devin Cooley's been playing well, right, which has been great. But
I said
also,
Logan Cooley. Wow, I really am an idiot.
yeah, that's okay.
I'd wish Logan Cooley was on the Flames. There, I said it.
Imagine
No, but Devin
imagine.
Cooley's been playing really well, and I give myself a pat on the back because I was hyping him up during the preseason, and he's playing really well.
Don't forget, we got a 23-year-old in net right now for the Flames. So,
Okay.
I mean, how bad can this prospect pool really be, right?
Mm.
Yeah, so that'll wrap it up for Flames talk today. Let's wrap up the World Juniors. Weren't able to do a lot because some people were sick over the holidays, which is not recommended, which sucked ass.
Yeah.
Congratulations to the U.S. I think I predicted it. I think you predicted it as well too, that the Americans would go on to win the World Juniors. The Finnish goaltender, though, Rimpinen, was unbelievable last night. He played really well. He played really good. So shout out to Finland, who bounced back in the tournament a little bit. Shout out to Czechia winning bronze in that hellacious shootout in that bronze medal game against Sweden.
It was insane.
And then also to next year's group will be the United States, Sweden, and Canada all in a group. How wild is that?
You know, it's and also it's in the United States next year. It's in Minnesota.
Yeah, it's gonna be Minnesota. That's a great spot for it too. We'll get our quick recap of the World
And
Junior.
also, shout out Teddy Stiga, Nashville Predators prospect. His first goal of the entire tournament, hadn't scored at all, ends up being the game-winning golden goal. I mean, how awesome is that?
That's what it was like for Team Canada. I think it was back in like 2018 or 19, and one of the guys scored their first goals and happened to be the game winner, which is great. No, it's nice to see, and it's good for them, and they get a memory. I'm not surprised that this was the turnout. I thought the U.S. were just such a stronger team. Did I think that maybe an upset
didn't go the way I think people expected?
It did not go the way it was supposed to go, right? You have to give credit though, like teams like Czechia and Finland, like they're competing with them all the way. But ultimately, I just think that the big guys showed up for the U.S. I don't think that was a complete shocker.
Sure.
I expected them to win this tournament handily because we looked at it at the very beginning, and there were major concerns about this Canadian team going in, and it showed its true colors. I think Dave Cameron's probably the worst coach in World Junior history. He sucks. He needed to go, and he needed to be fired, frankly, after the Latvian game. I was actually cheering for Czechia in that quarterfinal game. I was rooting for Czechia to win the game. No joke. And when they won with 40 seconds left, I was on the floor laughing my ass off that they were going to lose this game. It's hilarious. Yeah. Everything about it was so funny. There
were a lot of. It felt like a very ignorant year for Canada. I think they felt that they were going to be better than what they were last year in Sweden.
Yeah.
Because last year in Sweden, I felt like that they should have gone further.
Right.
But yeah, I just think that they, quite frankly, that wasn't a team. They didn't play well together as a team. When you saw from the United States, they played. There was a lot of guys that were on the team last year, but these guys played together as a team, like the whole way through. And even when they were down 3-1 last night against Finland, it didn't seem like they were panicking. It was like, okay, yeah, we've had, it's not ideal, but they got going. Hudson with a unbelievable goal. Getting through two defenders, ridiculous. And even Teddy Stiga's goal was very nice to win the game.
Nice. Yeah.
And I'm sure the United States, we're going to miss Trey Augustine for sure next year.
It'll be interesting to see now the pipeline for the U.S., right? Like going into, and it's like, I have to bring this up because I did see it yesterday, and it did kind of like tickle my feathers a little bit, where it's great. Like the U.S. have won back-to-back gold medals for the first time ever at the World Juniors. Don't want to look back on history, right? Because they were shitting all over Canada yesterday, right? And I'm like,
I may or may not have been a part of that.
Sure. All right. Well, kind of won 6 in a row in the 90s, won a couple in a row in the early 2000s, won some back-to-backs already in the late 2000s.
World Hockey Report?
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Twitter, just like the Wikipedia. By the way, why Wikipedia?
I know. Wikipedia.
You could have found any other thing. Why'd you have to go there?
Don't do Wikipedia for that. So it's like, I'll give you full credit. Like, there was no way this Canadian team was going to win the gold medal. They weren't going to win. It was a foregone conclusion. Why? Sure. Because they couldn't score. I wonder what team that reminds me of. The title of the show. It's the Flames, right? They can't score. That's ultimately what happened with this team. They couldn't score, and the guys that were left off the roster, they left.
They could score.
I think 7 to 8 guys off the roster who were putting up ridiculous points in college and in the CHL.
Bennett Sinek is the one that stands out to me the most because it was ironic.
100%.
Remember, like same day. Yeah. Canada loses that game to Latvia.
Yeah.
And he scores a ridiculous shootout goal.
100%. I guess they needed that in the shootout, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, would it have made a difference if you take in all those guys, like if you threw in Perek, Seneca, blanking here, Riley Height, I'm missing some names here.
I think it would have made a difference.
I think it would have made a difference too. You probably don't lose to Latvia. You probably you don't make it that close with Germany, even though they won.
Right.
I don't think still they would have beaten the U.S., but I think they could have ended up in the gold medal game. right?
I agree.
You don't finish third in the group. You finish second. You get Slovakia, and you probably handle your business. And you go and play Sweden. It would have been.
Sure.
It's a different. I think it's a completely different story. And Dave
I agree.
Cameron did not have this team ready.
No.
That's it. And the guys just couldn't put it together, right? And what they ultimately ended up doing is they put it all on Gavin McKenna. So it is what it is. I thought it was hilarious the entire tournament, but I want to give my props to the U.S. because I predicted them from the beginning. They deserved it. They had the more complete roster, the better team from day one. And as of right now, in the past 2 or 3 years, the U.S. has a good, probably one of the better prospect pools.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of excitement, and it'll be really interesting when we get to the Four Nations face-off. Just
now it adds fuel to the fire.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm sure that there are guys in the NHL that are pissed off that the World Junior team lost.
Marchand already said it. He's like, "There's blood in the water now."
100%.
And
100%.
I think I really think that I don't want to put money on it.
Say the thing.
I think Canada's going to just dominate this tournament. I really do.
I think my one concern, just my one overall concern about Canada, goaltending.
Sure. That's fair.
Other than that, I totally agree with you that I could see them totally what's exciting for me is seeing we saw Connor McDavid on a world stage when he played, in the World Cup of hockey. This is
he's gonna play with, man.
This is an older, much more mature Connor McDavid. This is a holy crap. He's at the prime of his career. I did want to say this one thing though about the U.S.
Also, too, don't forget, check the status of Quinn Hughes closer to the Four Nations.
It's a good point. Which, by the way, I'm not okay. It's going to sound biased, but if Quinn is not playing, what are the chances that Luke Hughes takes his spot?
Not high. I think they take some other guys.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah, I think
you'd be surprised.
I think they take Noah Hannafin over Luke Hughes.
I don't think it's a foregone conclusion, Kyle, from what I've heard. Because I'm just saying, just play devil's advocate, ironically, with me.
Sure.
Tom Fitzgerald is one of the assistant GMs of
for the USA.
Yes. Okay. And he talked about that, there were conversations about Luke making the team.
Interesting. Okay, well,
I'm just saying.
No shit, there were conversations.
I'm just saying. Look,
hey,
do I think
really good right now?
I would be very worried about my attitude about the Four Nations. The less players from whatever team you're a fan of that are playing, the better. Totally. Because you're putting this tournament, by the way, at one of the weirdest times of the year in February.
Kind of a nice time, to be honest. Well, don't forget, you want to put it as a weird time.
How many trades do you think will happen during that time? That's what I want to know. How many trades happen?
That'll be curious. Don't forget, the Olympics happen at this time anyway, right?
That's true.
And look at how hard they tried anyway at the Olympic stage. You don't think they'll do the same thing here at the Four Nations? They 100%.
I think they will. No, I think they will.
100%.
I think David Carl, by the way, needs to be a head coach in the NHL very soon.
Yes, agreed.
The man has won 2 national championships at Denver. He's won 2 gold medals at the World Juniors. What is the next thing?
Well, but also too,
got to go to the American Hockey League.
But also, you got to go step by step, right?
Which I think he will.
Well, look at if you take football for example, right? Look at Nick Saban, right? He never went pro because that's where he was good at. He was good in a collegiate program. Okay, well he did, but
he was the coach of the Dolphins for 2 years, though.
Okay, but you know what I mean here. He's more remembered for being in Alabama, right?
Of course.
So you just have to see if you're right. If you want to take that next step, it's the AHL. You got to work your way up, right? You can't just magically appear in the NHL and expect things to work, right?
Paging Utica Comets, please.
Right, exactly. So I mean, overall, it was a great tournament. I think it was just
Ryan Leonard, the most hated man in North America, might be
in Canada, but I mean, certainly so. Peter Sikora.
Anyone else for USA hated other than him? I'm trying to think.
Probably everybody. For being frank,
I forgot why Ryan Leonard's hated. I forgot.
Peter Sikora, though, I loved it. After Czechia won, they go and celebrate in the corner.
Son, by the way.
Yeah, I think so.
That is his son. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
and he goes into the corner and just like hushes the Canadian crowd. They start playing Canadian music in the locker room. I loved every second of that. How funny is that?
That is really funny.
Yeah.
And I think what I always find interesting is like teams' reasoning behind like their goal song. So like the United States goes Freebird, which was so funny because I forgot which player they interviewed, but they interviewed one of the players for US and he goes, I'd never heard this song in my entire life up until this point.
Yeah.
And now I know all the words like verbatim.
It's a
And
great
I was
song.
like,
It's a good
it
song
is a
for it.
great song.
Right?
Oh yeah.
So it'll be, I think, looking forward to next year's World Juniors, the U.S. have a great chance to three-peat on home ice, right? A lot of pressure, right?
That's why I don't have as
In a
much
tough,
faith next year.
in a
Personally.
tough group with Sweden,
Hmm.
I can't imagine the Canadians making the same mistake they did this year, right?
No.
And if they do, there's some serious problems up top, right? Because of the amount of
Yeah.
snubs that they left off the roster, right?
Yeah.
We'll
The one
see.
thing about
Right?
Canada is that, like, and you can attest to this, Kyle, but like from what I've experienced is that when they have something like this where they embarrass themselves, they'll figure it out. They'll turn it around
Well,
and they'll say to ourselves, all right, let's use our brains this time and not our,
yeah,
let's do the right thing. Let's figure this out and go from there. Like,
it's
oh
not hard.
pardon.
I
No,
could,
it's not. It's not.
I could do it. I could let me assemble the roster, and I bet you I could do it. I could do a better job. I could do a better job coaching than whatever Dave Cameron did. Like, honestly,
That's the first
you
thing you gotta do.
can't.
You gotta get rid of Dave Cameron and bring in someone else.
So dumb. Like
Is there
throwing
ruling
Bruce
behind the
Boudreaux.
head coach of like the World Junior team? Like, does he have to be like a certain age or like a
Oh
certain
no, they
level?
always change it up every year. Like it's a different coach every year. He'll never coach the
Right,
Canadian team again, right? Because this is the
right.
worst performance in history for Team Canada.
Sure,
And
100%.
like it's bound to happen, and it's great for competition. Loved it for Latvia, right? Loved every second of it, right? They
Gotta love
almost
Latvia.
pulled it off against Sweden in the quarterfinal.
I thought they were gonna pull it off. I
I
really
really did
thought it was
too.
gonna happen.
And that's got to be so good for them because that's like, that's going to promote it really well in Latvia. And, like that's going to elevate it even more.
Oh
Right.
yeah,
That's great to see from them.
they're on
Um,
the rise. They
they
actually
are.
are like getting better as the
They are.
years go on.
And it's really good to see. Right. Um, I think too, if Russia was in this tournament,
Hmm.
can you imagine if Russia was in this tournament? I think Canada would have finished seventh.
Yeah.
Right.
Are we ever gonna see them again?
We will. It'll take time. And I'm sure
Yeah,
the
I
Russians
just like
will
there's a
play.
part of me that just like feels bad for a lot of the players that are obviously not involved in anything that's going on.
The
Like,
problem is, like, they can bring them back now, but the backlash towards them is going to be pretty big. It's going to be
don't
bad
expect
regardless.
Russia to be there next year, people.
No,
It's
no, no.
especially with it being in the United States. Nope.
It's going to take a while. It might be a
Yeah.
couple of years before we see that again. So, um,
Also,
because
Kazakhstan is getting so close to like doing something hilarious.
they almost, who was it? They almost beat what was it, Slovakia,
Slovakia, and I was like,
and that would have done it. Like they probably would have gone over the edge, and I mean they could have gotten over Switzerland too, but then all of a sudden they get relegated. So.
so who ended? I'm trying to remember who ended up getting knocked out. Who's done?
So Kazakhstan lost to Germany. They get knocked out. Denmark
Right.
won the division below. Denmark will be in the tournament next
So
year.
Denmark will be there next year. Denmark's always interesting, but like
Yeah.
I'm really excited about like Latvia. I want to see what they do next year. Like
Well,
it's
it's
gonna
funny
be really
because
interesting.
the group is going to be the U.S., Sweden, Canada, Latvia, Germany. That's the group.
It's such a tough group.
It is the toughest group in a long time, and it's wide open for anybody to win the number one
It
spot.
is.
Three.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that'll be next year. Four Nations to look forward to. We'll look forward to that. Got some games this week, and we'll see whatever news pops up. But that's it.
I'm hoping that we're in a good mood by the time Thursday comes
I'll
around.
be in a good mood. I won't be sick anymore.
You're sick now?
Yeah, I'm still stuffy.
He's still stuffy. Mr. Stuffalufficus over here.
All right, that's gonna wrap it up. Yeah, I think that's it. Right? Am I missing anything?
Yeah, nothing else I can report of. I think the Winter Classic was a joke.
Yep.
Other than that, Be honest with you. I mean, I did the live watch along on the THPN YouTube channel. There was definitely like a weirder vibe. And I don't even want to say weird. I think it was just simply like, people are like, why is this game happening on New Year's Eve when you also have 9 other games going on?
It wasn't good. It wasn't good.
Wasn't good. We've seen this matchup before. B, the Blackhawks suck in Winter Classic games all the time. And
The Blues
C,
are mid,
we've already
by the way.
been to this venue. Like nothing changed. Now, Gary Bettman goes on to say on the TNT broadcast, oh, people are going to think, which by the way, we should know at some point this week about, next year. He said that, oh, people are going to think we lost our minds. And I'm like,
Yeah, it's already going to
say
be
that, and then it's going to not be what we think it's going to be, and then we're going to be upset.
It's going to be Florida Tampa Bay. That's what it's leaning towards. Yeah,
which I'm fine with. No. The Battle of Tampa, the Battle of Florida is fine. That's what I want. But like after that, make the matchups more meaningful, please.
It's awful.
Like
it's
it
awful.
just people are saying, "Oh, there's too many outdoor games." No, that's not the problem. The problem is A, the NHL doesn't do a good job anymore of promoting the damn game.
Yeah.
And B, they keep putting these lame matchups that people are not interested in. Last year was interesting because, again, you had the Winter Classic between the two teams that have only been in the league for 6, 7 years combined.
Yeah.
Like, that was cool. The problem after that is simply like things like you had the Stadium Series in New Jersey, this past
Which
year.
was good.
Which was good. The game, the Rangers Islanders, that was awesome.
Yeah.
But again, you've already done that matchup numerous times.
It's hard. It's hard. I get it. Like you got to go.
Yeah, I know it's hard, but you can still try.
Like the one that they did on, was it Lake Placid? I think.
Yes.
Great. Fantastic idea, right?
Outdoor games in Alaska or something.
And also, too, last thing here, like, why do you think the NFL flexes Sunday Night Football a lot? Because they want to put the best product out there under national television.
Yeah.
So why can't they do the same?
They always keep the last week flex because they know that there's going to be drama.
Why?
They got a perfect opportunity because they got Vikings Lions week 17. Now, granted, the game ended up not being great, but it doesn't matter. It didn't matter. The job was done.
The hype was there, right?
Yep.
The hype was there. Can you imagine if we ever lived in a world where you get the number one spot in, like, I don't know, like in the Eastern or the Western Conference, and you get a bye, and it like
I was just thinking about that before we jumped.
You know what I mean?
We got a bye.
That would be wild. I
would hate it.
It probably.
I would hate it.
It'll never happen, right? Because you get all these Game 7 scenarios, right? But yeah, gotta do a better job of promoting. That's gonna wrap it up for today, though. Yeah, that's about it. We'll see y'all again on Thursday. Again, 2 games for you guys coming up Tuesday and Wednesday, as they're in Anaheim. Flames are in Anaheim, and they are in LA on Wednesday. Other than that, hope everybody stay safe. Don't be sick like myself, and we'll see y'all again on Thursday. Later.